Let me now turn to the issue of safety and the absolutely deplorable and unacceptable incidents that have happened recently, but also over a long period of time. And I want to take this in four sort of sections. The first point to make, and I know that it doesn't seem like this at the moment, but the first point to make is that, relatively speaking, the City of Newcastle and the University of Newcastle are relatively safe places. I know it doesn't seem like that, but I think it's important to keep that in mind, that they're relatively safe places. There are clearly some elements of Australian society that are uneducated, uninformed, and that don't deal well with people who are different from themselves. And sometimes that manifests itself in racism, sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes it manifests itself, it simply shows itself in ignorance. But the first point is that, relatively speaking, this city and this university are relatively safe. In the last few months, as we all know, there have been a range of incidents on this campus and close to this campus that have been assaults, verbal, physical, that have been robberies, that have been threats. It's important for me to make another point, some factual information. Those attacks have been on some members of staff of the university. They have been on some domestic Australian students, and they have been on international students. The majority of them have been on international students, that is true. These attacks have been largely perpetrated by a group of youngsters, a group of young people in the ages of 12 to 16 who live in areas close to this university. That is a big problem in itself, that such youngsters engage in these things. The university, the police, and NUSA and other community bodies have worked very closely together. I wish we could do something magical and stop it as soon as we hear about it. Magic doesn't happen like that. The police briefed the Vice-Chancellor and myself and Dr. Sue Gould, the Deputy Vice-Chancellor Services, yesterday, and it's important to note that there have been, of the incidents that have been reported, and I will come back to that in a moment, of the incidents that have been reported, there have been arrests in all of those incidents. For all of the ones that we know about, there have been arrests. For some of the attacks that occurred, the young people were cautioned. In other words, they were told that what they were doing was wrong and they should not do it again. And I understand the difficulty of recognising that that is enough. I understand that. And it makes me sad that sometimes my feeling is that it's not enough, but that is the law. For most of the incidents, though, charges have been laid. In other words, they just haven't been told, you are bad, don't do it again, but rather charges have been laid. For some of those people, charges have been laid and they've been allowed to go and live at their houses, to stay with their parents, but have been told that they can't go out anymore. For some of them, and I cannot here, you will understand that I cannot say names, I cannot give details. For some of them, the people have been kept in custody. They have been kept in custody in a youth area, in a youth detention area, in sort of a jail, not quite a jail, but sort of a jail until their case comes to the magistrate's court. So some of those young people are now off the streets. So it is important for you to understand that in all of the incidents that we know about and that the police know about, action has been taken by the police. I cannot promise, and nobody can promise, that there will not be further incidents. Which brings me to another thing. It is very important to report. And I know that sometimes that is very difficult. I know that sometimes you might feel embarrassed that your phone has been stolen, or you might feel embarrassed that somebody has said bad things to you. Don't feel embarrassed. Report. Tell security here. You will see many posters around now with numbers on them. I hope that you all put the security number in your phones and write it down as well. Tell us what is going on, because that allows us to do the things. Helen Bryce, who is here, many of you will know Helen. We will provide the support that you need to report to police if there's any incidents. I know it is sometimes difficult. I know it is sometimes embarrassing. I know that sometimes we wonder what will happen if I go to police. We will look after you. You never go to police. You know, there will be no troubles if you go to police. We will make sure that it is okay. So we are doing many things in working closely with the police. But I ask you to report all aspects. The next thing that I need to say, and my colleague Sue Gould has walked in at the exact right time. The next thing that I need to say is that we have put in place on the campus many initiatives, many new things. That you will see the safety posters. Posters are just posters. It's the information on the posters that's important. So there are many new things that we are doing that we want you to use. There is a shuttle bus that will help at night, take you either around the campus or take you to the surrounding suburbs. And there is contact details that on the posters and has been put out in emails for you to use. Take advantage of those services. Please take advantage of those services, not just for your own safety, but so that you can work with us. And we've been very pleased that in the last period of time, the last week or so, that many people are taking advantage of that. We can take you home. We probably can't take you home if you live in Sydney, but we can take you home if it's a reasonably close. We will also be improving some of the lighting around the campus. The campus is a big place. It's 140 hectares, which is a big place. We can't put lights everywhere. That would be silly. It would not work. We are improving the lighting, and you will see that also there are priority paths to walk. What I am about to say does not blame anyone. But some of the attacks that have occurred have been because individual people, individual students, have been walking in very dark places. And that is not to blame them. They have been walking where they think is the best way to walk to get home. But it's best not to walk alone. Walk in groups, walk on the pathways. So we are doing lots of things. If you think we could be doing more, tell us what you think we could be working more. The last point that I wanted to make about safety is that although there has been a focus on the recent incidents, it is important to understand that the way we deal with our safety is by working together. As Eduardo said before, the university and NUSA are working very closely together on these matters. We need you to work closely with NUSA, with the university, with the police, so that we change both the understanding of the incidents and we change the incidents themselves. Sadly, in the world that we live, we can never promise that everybody will be completely safe all of the time. But we can work together for us to be as safe and supportive of each other as we possibly can. Sue, do you wish to add anything to what I've said?
No, but I'm very happy to take any questions from people, but I think we've covered most of it now.
Okay, so thank you.